Part 16. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 155. On the main playground, the only female soldier company of Division A passed by with neat steps facing the rostrum. The last team of this military parade, the women's medical team, followed. Unconsciously, Zhou Jingping straightened up, Peng Zhuoqi also straightened up, Chiao Wanyan also straightened his back. Seeing this, the remaining two sub-military commanders also craned their necks to look down, wondering in their hearts, why do they see the women's medical team as if they had been given chicken blood? Have you passed the age when you will be excited when you see a girl? However, the big bosses are all excited, how can they not be excited? The wind from the corner of Su Zhenghong's eyes swept over several people, and his heart hung in his throat. It's already reached this point, but don't let any moths appear. Chiao Wanyan frowned suddenly, and stretched his neck forward, as if he wanted to understand every member of the team. He. Peng Zhou smiled awkwardly, old Chiao, pay attention to the influence. Chiao Wanyan sat back with a sullen face and ignored Peng Zhou. His actions aroused Peng Zhou's curiosity, and he turned his gaze to the team below. Although the little female soldiers didn't train for a long time, they really couldn't find any faults. The steps are neat and uniform, the arms are swinging in place, the angle of sight is accurate, and although the facial expression is a little nervous, it still looks comfortable. Well done, what kind of ugly face is this, Chiao Wanyan? To be honest, Peng Zhuoqi really wanted to find something wrong with the Women's Special Forces team. At that time, after Division A submitted the application, he also moved his mind, and because of this, that made Master A's reply a little bit late, but whether it's late or not, the one who finally gets this privilege is Master A. Although it is only a small medical team, it has a different meaning. This is the first real large-scale training of team medical personnel. The significance of the pilot and follow-up coverage is very different. But now, seeing the slightly nervous little faces of the little girls, he lost his heart to be critical. It was originally a fight between them. Why bother with these little girls? The members of the women's medical team, in Peng Zhuoqi's contemplation, walked in neat steps, past the rostrum, and returned to their own battle positions. At this point, the parade is over. At this moment of pride, Zhou Jingping affirmed everyone's training results, praised everyone's performance, and looked forward to the next development. A commitment was made to the outfitting of weapons. Under the stage, young and flying faces were immediately filled with passionate smiles. Soldiers. Who doesn't pay attention to honor? Who doesn't like weapons? Who doesn't want to be affirmed by the Supreme Chief? Amidst the envy and jealousy of several military commanders in the sub-military region, the military parade speech in the afternoon ended, and each team returned one by one, waiting for the evening gala performance. After the women's medical team arrived at her place of belonging, Zhenmei quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he got through this difficulty without any surprise or danger. Thank you. She was sincerely grateful to the few female soldiers who came to the emergency. It's all from the same division. It's not just yourselves who lose face. A few female soldiers left behind these words, and left with a calm face. Obviously, they were also reluctant to come to the emergency. Okay, all the teams go back to do the final rehearsal, prepare for tonight's performance, and disband. Zhenmei didn't care about the other party's attitude, and hurried to the next item. Besides, no matter what, they saved their emergency this time, and they should not be happy about it. Who cares about raising soldiers for thousands of days, but they are used by others in the end. The poisoned people had already been sent back to the dormitory, and they were lying on the bed weakly. Seeing Chu Xia and the others come in, they all struggled to get up. Is the parade over? Nothing went wrong. Isn't the scene spectacular? After everyone asked in a hurry, they looked at Chuxia and the others eagerly. Well, it's over, there was no trouble, the scene was quite spectacular. By the way, where's the squad leader? After Chuxia finished answering, she found that Jiaoning Ai had disappeared, so she asked suspiciously. She's gone to the toilet, Lin Mengran said while pulling on her shoes. I'm going to the toilet too, just to see if she fell out of the toilet. It's been more than 10 minutes, why hasn't she come back? I'll go with you, Chuxia said as he stepped forward to help her up. Regarding Lin Mengran's teaching her to run, Chuxia has always kept in mind. She also discovered that this Lin Mengran's personality is so casual. She helps you, but it doesn't mean she really thinks you are good, and she doesn't help you, it doesn't mean she dislikes you. Thank you. On a rare occasion, Lin Mengran thanked Chuxia, and when the two went to the toilet, they didn't find Jiaoning Ai. Where can she go? Lin Mengran frowned and looked down one after another. Chuxia had a black thread on her head. Go to the toilet quickly, this pit is so narrow that no one can fall into it. That's right, I'm really confused. Shaking her head, Lin Mengran found a pit and squatted down. After urinating, she dragged Chuxia to run outside, look for Jiaoning Ai, she didn't faint in the middle of the night. Are you on the road? Such a living person, how could we not see it when we came here? Chuxia looked at her striding steps and said, you recovered very quickly. Of course, I'm a solid person anyway. Could it be that I went astray with us just now and have already gone back? Lin Mengran said while speeding up her pace. The two returned to the dormitory, but still did not find Jiaoning Ai's figure. It happened that Zheng Meili came over, and the two hurriedly reported the situation to each other. I'll go to her. You can discuss the program. We'll decide on the specifics when I come back, Zheng Meili said, and quickly disappeared through the door. Leaving a room full of people looking at each other, how can they discuss it? 4 people, go up to the chorus. But Su Zhenghong said that after he had settled the leaders, he had just returned to his office and sat down when the door was pushed open, and Jiao Wanyan walked in with a gloomy face. Su Zhenghong hurried over to meet him. Commander, what are your orders? What happened to the women's medical team? What's going on? Su Zhenghong looked puzzled. Dong dong. Before Jiao Wanyan could speak, the door was knocked again. Su Zhenghong glanced at Jiao Wanyan, and seeing that the other party had no intention of stopping, he said, come in. A little female soldier walked in with a pale face. Yi, what's wrong with you? Jiao Wanyan stepped forward, took the little female soldier into his arms and sat on the sofa, looking up and down. What's the matter? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 156. Nuan, I said the day before yesterday that there will be 2 updates, it is true, but I saw that painful advertising space yesterday, and I couldn't find it myself, so why mention readers? After it was put on the shelves, it has been running naked for another month. I am really hurt. Dear friends, watch the genuine version, so that Nuan's grades can be better, the recommended advertising space can be better, and Nuan's motivation can be greater. For example, students who go to school, always if you are left out, you will be depressed. My rise depends on you. Mr. Su, Jiaoning Ai said hello to Su Zhenghong politely before looking at Jiao Wanyan. Dad, I'm fine, I've had a bad stomach from lunch, and I've already hung the bottle, but I just don't have much strength yet. How could you spoil your stomach at a time like this? Jiao Wanyan frowned even more tightly. If your grandma finds out, you will definitely not be allowed to stay here any longer. Dad, you can't tell grandma, if I'm not worried about you being confused, I don't have to rush to find you in such a hurry. Su Zhenghong sat aside in embarrassment, the corners of his mouth twitching. Cough. Jiao Wanyan was a little embarrassed to be so hurt by his daughter in front of his subordinates, and coughed unnaturally. This child, how do you talk? He. Chiao Ning-ai stretched her arms and legs with a smile. Dad, look, I'm healthy now, so don't embarrass Mr. Su. This time, we messed around with ourselves. It's okay to be the captain, let alone the teacher, you can't get angry. This child. Chiao Wanyan really didn't know what to say. Su Zhenghong really wanted to find an excuse to hide, but he did that. It was too deliberate, so I had to take a folder by hand. Be busy. Dad, I ran out secretly. I went back, and now you know that I'm fine, so this is over. You are not allowed to report to Grandma, otherwise, I will tell her about your secret smoking. Chiao Ning-ai stood up while talking, and waved at Su Zhenghong. Master, goodbye. Old Su, Yi's work in the medical team. Don't reveal it, kid. I don't want others to deny her efforts. I have already promised her in order to hide the embarrassment, Chiao Wanyan told Su Zhenghong with a serious face. Su Zhenghong nodded with black lines. Commander, I know. In other words, do you think he is a fool? If she didn't want to conceal her identity, could Chiao Ning-ai move her household registration to the countryside? Besides, he is not deaf. The father and daughter spoke in such a loud voice in front of him. If he pretended not to hear it, could it be that he really couldn't hear it? Realizing that his exhortations were a bit erroneous, Chiao Wanyan laughed at himself. Oh, the child is growing up. Everyone has their own ideas. By the way, your little girl is almost 20, right? 21. Su Zhenghong also sighed. It's not a peace of mind. I have to go to the movie. I can't stop her. Her grandparents were so angry that they ignored her for half a month. In the end, they still had to guard her, saying that she was afraid that she would fail in her studies. It's not easy, but girls are good at acting in movies. Our grandma, Yi, is looking forward to Yi going to the art troupe. Unfortunately, this child is determined to become a medical soldier. Speaking of their children, both fathers had a stomach full of bitterness to pour out, but the two of them were enjoying themselves when the door opened and another father, Zhou Jingping, came in. The two quickly stood up and saluted. In front of outsiders, Su Zhenghong has always been very polite, and few people knew that he was Zhou Jingping's brother-in-law. Of course, Chiao Wanyan knew about it. Okay, in the office, you don't need to be so particular. Zhou Jingping waved his hands, sat down, and looked at Chiao Wanyan. Why did you come here? You are afraid that Peng Zhuoqi will continue to criticize you, so you escaped. I'm afraid of him. Chiao Wanyan curled his lips. If he is not convinced, he can fight me for real. If anyone is persuaded, who is the grandson? Look at you, how can you look like a leader of an army? Zhou Jingping nodded at him with a funny face. Chiao Depeo, you really live up to your name. Commander, why do you say that about me? Chiao Wanyan said while looking at Su Zhenghong. Old Su, tell me, how am I like a cannon? Is this trying to embarrass people or is it trying to embarrass people? Su Zhenghong got up quickly. Both chiefs, I'm going to see the layout of the auditorium. As he spoke, he left the office as if fleeing. Ha ha ha. Zhou Jingping laughed. Old Chiao, you scared our master Su away, and you still don't admit that you are a big gun. Commander, I admit it. Chiao Wanyan rubbed his head embarrassingly. I have such a straight temper, I guess I can't change it in this life. Okay, don't give yourself money. If you really have a straight temper, you can get to where you are today. Zhou Jingping waved his hand. Actually, you should thank Peng Zhuoqi. If he didn't give you such a nickname, you will not live so comfortably. Chiao Wanyan suddenly became vigilant. Commander, I will not thank him, let alone give any real thanks. Look at your enlightenment. Zhou Jingping smiled helplessly. The establishment of the medical team is to make all officers and soldiers feel at ease in peacetime and have no worries in wartime. The purpose of the pilot project in Division A is to promote it to the entire army after achieving results. Then, Naturally, these experienced medical soldiers will not be able to just stay in this corner. Old Chiao, you don't even have this awareness, do you? It's only just being established. Why don't I say hello to you in advance, so that you won't be confused when the time comes? Now there are hygienists in all military regions, and they are quite experienced. Obviously, Chiao Wanyan still didn't want to contribute the talents he had cultivated. In fact, this medical team is similar to health workers in the traditional sense, except that there used to be only 2 to 3 health workers in each station. If it really enters wartime, it will be far from meeting the requirements. To put it bluntly, the medical team is basically preparing for war. Of course, it is best if there is no war, but this time, do it? Obviously there have been clues. This is why Chiao Ning Ai's grandma desperately does not want her granddaughter to join the medical team. If there is a war, this team will definitely be sent to the front line. The old lady's grandsons are all in the army, and she really doesn't want her granddaughter to follow this path. In her opinion, girls are weaker and less able to protect themselves. Don't worry, I won't transfer your daughter away. Zhou Jingping's supplement interrupted Chiao Wanyan's thoughts. His expression became serious. Commander, I'm a soldier, and when that day really comes, I can't stop my daughter from going to the front line. However, I will definitely not send her out regardless. You can say that I am selfish, anyway, I just want to protect her in front of me, where I can see her. In this way, I also have an explanation to her grandma. There was a long silence in the room. Finally, Zhou Jingping patted Chiao Wanyan on the shoulder. Didn't say anything. Chiao Wanyan's face was a little embarrassed. In fact, after he said those words, he regretted a little. He knew why the commander lost his little daughter back then. What he said now was simply exposing the commander's scars. But he couldn't help it, and his mother gave him a death order. If you can't stop your daughter, you must protect your daughter in front of you. His father died at a young age. It is not easy for his mother to bring up their brothers. He must listen to his mother's request. What's more, he really wants to do this. He has sent his 2 sons to the army and let them develop. Daughter, he wants to protect her well. If his daughter was not too stubborn, he would never let her join the army. Everyone has a selfish side, and he is no exception, and he doesn't think his selfishness is wrong. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Division A's 10-year celebration performance officially kicked off. Zhao Yulan and Zhao Yushin sat under the stage with excited expressions on their faces. They were arranged in the front row by Zhou Mikang, and they could see the performers on the stage up close. The host is a beautiful woman in military uniform. The difference between the army and the local government is that if the local celebration lasted 3 hours, the leader's speech would probably take up 1 hour, while if the army's celebration lasted 3 hours, the leader's speech would take up to 10 minutes at most. Doing my part, the one who spoke was naturally number 1 boss Zhou Jingping. Seeing Zhou Jingping in military uniform standing in front of the stage talking, Zhao Yulan and Zhao Yushin became even more excited. It can be understood as more flustered. The first program is the opening dance. It seems that this has become the established form of any party. The performers are the girls from the art troupe of the Shangjing military region. A graceful and soft girl is definitely a magic weapon to attract attention, not to mention, in this place where male animals account for 99%. Well, including the Zhao Yulan couple and Zhao Yushin couple in the audience, they were a little stunned, but after the soft girl left, Zhao Yulan whispered in Lin Baohe's ear, and said with certainty, "These girls are not as good looking as our Xia family." A certain daughter controlled her father and nodded wildly. In his eyes, his daughter is definitely the prettiest. Even if people say that his daughter is more beautiful than the 4 beauties, he will definitely agree. As for whether he knows who the 4 beauties are, it can be completely ignored. After the soft girls left the stage, it was the turn of the A division, the troop, and the battalion to perform. The program was reciting prose poems. Well, the elders sang out of tune, but wanted to appear on stage. This kind of program is quite safe. My homeland. My beloved motherland. You are a soaring rooster. The thick male voice echoed in the venue, but it also aroused the pride in people's hearts. The program went on one by one, nothing more than poetry recitations, sketches, chorus, interspersed with the performances of the art troupe. It was regarded as a change, and the emotions of the audience were always on the rise. After a short period of curiosity, all of Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe's thoughts were looking forward to their daughter's appearance on the stage. Every time the show started, they all looked forward to ending it quickly, hoping that their daughter would be the next one to appear on stage. Anyway, they were extremely curious about their daughter singing on stage. Chu Xia and the others are currently waiting in line at the entrance. Their group performances are not eligible to enter the backstage. Sun Shangmei's tense calves were trembling. Luo Xiaoxiang and Lu Meijun were not much better than her. There were 10 people in the other classes. There were only 4 of them, so how could they not be stage fright? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 157. Thank you for your support. Nuan really feels very warm. Today I have more words in the first update. I will adjust my mood in the past 2 days. I will resume 2 updates on Thursday. Nuan dare not ask for more fans. If it is possible, I hope everyone can follow it. Subscribe to the article, or set it as an automatic subscription. Let Nuan know that you are all by Nuan's side. Thank you. In the dormitory of the 3rd class, all the patients who were locked up were sitting on the small bench in a depressed manner, looking as sad as they could be. Hey, Yuan Mengmeng sighed heavily. I really don't know what Sun Shangmei is thinking. She sings out of tune, but she insists on performing, so what if she looks good? If it wasn't for you, would things have turned out like this? Yang Xiaoli glared at her. When will you change your problem of blaming others for your problems and taking credit for yourself? Yuan Mengmeng looked aggrieved. I know I was wrong, but what I'm saying now is the truth. There are only 4 people going up, and 1 who is out of tune. Isn't this a disgrace to our 3rd class, and so is the captain? With them. Qi Jihong's eyes sparkled, and he said, Xiaoli, I also agree with Mengmeng's statement on this matter. Since this is already the case, it's better not to perform at all. There are so many people in Division A, 1 more class is not more, and 1 less us. There are quite a few in 1 class. I believe that even if we didn't participate in the performance, no one would find out. That's good, it's hard for people not to find out. Aren't you too naive? Lin Mengran looked at Qi Jihong and Yuan Mengmeng coldly. Teacher A is the first to prepare a women's medical team in this way. As far as I know. It's definitely not just our teacher, or the older ones who are rushing to take this first job. It is definitely not only our army. Well, on a day like today, how many pairs of eyes are staring at the women's medical team? If we didn't act well, it's because we are not capable enough. If we don't participate in the performance, the nature will change. At that time, we really have to investigate it. Yuan Mengmeng, can you afford it? Yuan Mengmeng glared at Lin Mengran angrily, then at Yang Xiaoli pitifully. Ji lowered his head slowly. Although the thinking has changed now. She will no longer pick on her teammates as before, but it doesn't mean that Yang Xiaoli has really become a good-tempered one. Anyway, Yuan Mengmeng and Qi Jihong have been with her for so many years. She can scold, and even beat others, but if others do this, she will not be happy. Knowing that Yuan Mengmeng was pretending to be pitiful on purpose and wanted her to stand out, he was using her, to put it bluntly. However, she really couldn't do it just by leaving it alone. Furthermore, since reporting this, Lin Mengran showed her uniqueness all the time and everywhere. It seems that she herself is the embodiment of justice, and she has long disliked her. Lin Mengran. Don't put such a big label on it. Even if the women's medical team gets attention, the chiefs won't count them one by one. If that's the case, we stay in the dormitory. What should we do? What do you think? It's a performance now, not a group chorus. If we are missing, no one will find out, but if the third class's program is missing, someone will definitely find out. Yang Xiaoli snorted coldly. You jumped out to be a leader. Didn't you just want to tell everyone that your background is very deep? If you want to show off your background, don't be a medical soldier, go to the art troupe, there is more suitable for you. Yuan Mengmeng didn't react, and looked at Yang Xiaoli stupidly. Why? Yang Xiaoli gave her a disdainful look. Do you think it's the members of the medical team or the art troupe who have more vanity? Oh. Yuan Mengmeng nodded his head in a daze. Boss, you are still smart and thoughtful, I really didn't think of this. Yang Xiaoli glared at her. You don't have to flatter me, I told you earlier, remember, don't blame others for problems in the future, and take credit for yourself. If you continue like this, don't blame me for not treating you as a friend. The smile on Yuan Mengmeng's face froze all of a sudden. She was still secretly happy that Yang Xiaoli was finally standing on the same front with her again. Dare you? She just slapped a sweet date and then slapped him again. Who will be in the end? She doesn't want to. It seems that she really has to plan for her future. Boss, the boss is no longer the old boss. Qiao Ning I waved at everyone. Everyone is sick, just take a good rest. It doesn't matter whether they perform well or not in the end. As long as they pass this test, we have completed the task. We are medical soldiers, are not art troops, so don't get entangled in this matter. I'm going to the toilet again. Lin Mengran ran out clutching her stomach, and Chu Xiaojing hurriedly followed. I'll go with her. Aren't they going to the venue? Yang Xiaoli blinked and looked at Jiaoning II, squad leader. Anyway, we don't vent much now, why don't we go to the venue too? Qi Jihong hurriedly echoed, yes, Captain, I just suffocated in the room like this, and I was worried that we would go over there to find the toilet and find no embarrassment, but now it's all over, let's go and join in the fun, okay. Squad leader, I'm fine too. Yuan Mengmengula climbed up from the bed. Squad leader, this is a rare opportunity, let's go to learn more. Feeling her body carefully, Jiaoning II nodded, okay. Let's go and have a look. In fact, she also said very worriedly. At that time, it was decided that there was no way for the 4 people who were not poisoned to perform on stage. Lin Chuxia even deliberately carried the accordion, which made her feel even more uncertain. She can feel that Lin Chuxia is different from ordinary rural girls, but the accordion is definitely not something that everyone can play. It's just that Lin Chuxia has already proposed it, and she can't refuse it. At this time, Chu Xia and the others were at the entrance, and it was their turn for the next show. Seeing the nervousness of the people around him, Chu Xia had to take a few deep breaths, trying not to be nervous, and once again he told a few people, when you get on stage and sing along to my tune, just behave the same as we did when we rehearsed in Captain Zheng's office. As long as we can be the same as that, we won't be ashamed. Okay. Luo Xiaoxiang replied. With a string of trills. Okay. Lu Meijun was not much better. Okay, Sun Shangmei was full of momentum, but you could tell by looking at her expression. She was simply extremely nervous. Just act as if the audience is a pile of cabbage, don't think about anything else, just sing as we said. Hee hee. Zhengmeili, who came over at some time, couldn't help laughing out loud when she heard Chu Xia comfort them so much. When she saw a few people looking at her, she stretched her head forward and lowered her voice, it's like cabbage, by yourself, just understand it in your heart. Chu Xia's face turned red all of a sudden. She only remembered that in her era, when comforting people were not nervous, they made everyone treat the people in the audience as cabbage, so she just said it out of the box. Fortunately, the other classes were also nervous and didn't hear her talk, otherwise, she would have really stabbed a hornet's nest. In this day and age, if she dared to say that the officers and soldiers in the audience were cabbage, she really felt that her life was too long. It's okay, ZenMaleLead patted her in relief, I believe in your performance. I also believe that you guys will definitely not lose face to Class 3. At this moment, the host has already started to report. Next, we invite Lin Chuxia, Sun Shangmei, Luo Zioxian, and Lu Meijun from Class 3 of the women's medical team to come on stage. They will perform for everyone, with accordion music and chorus. Everyone is welcome. Haha. The three stepped onto the stage to the beat of applause. Chu Xia sat on the stool that had been set aside long ago, and searched for a seat with the accordion in his arms. When the eyes turned to the 3 second-handers, they were speechless. The 3 second-handers were staring at their toes and making a punishment stand. Well, there are a lot of cabbages in the audience, and she is also extremely nervous, but, at that time, she had similar performance experience, so she can perfectly hide her nervousness, thinking about those three. When did they have you ever done something you're not good at in this kind of scene? It's already on stage, it's too late to remind me anything. All she can do is to get a good tune. Well, she has now lowered her requirements to not singing well, only asking not to go out of tune. Who made the women's medical team so hot? Originally, she didn't want to be such a young bird, but ZenMaleLead said that the chiefs were closely watching the women's medical team and specifically asked each class to perform on stage. If only 3 classes were missing, it would definitely not work. ZenMaleLead's original words were, as long as you go up and sing the song in its entirety, that's fine. If you don't get out of tune, don't think about it. Could she understand the last sentence as, don't think about it if you don't want to lose face? Anyway, he is also a professional level person who has passed the 12th level of piano, although he is forced, but that is also a real skill. How can he accept being out of tune on stage? And she believes that she has the ability to keep everyone from going out of tune, so she grinds her guns in front of the battle, and she is not happy. Anyway, she grinds it in ZenMaleLead's office, and ZenMaleLead is stunned. As for these 3 bastards, let alone up. Afterwards, the 3 also performed very well. Who would have thought that when they were on stage, the 3 bastards would decline like this? Forget it, there is no turning back, she should try her best to save the scene. At this time, the expressions of Zhao Yulan, Lin Baohe, Zhao Yushan, and Li Aiwan in the audience were not at all stronger than those of the 3 bastards on the stage. Especially Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe, who finally saw their daughter after so many calls, were startled before they could get excited. Their daughter even played with an accordion? Well, they have seen that thing in school and among educated youths, but they have never seen their daughter touch it. Now, the daughter is holding that big guy on stage. What is she going to? Why? Just as they were shocked, the melodious music sounded as a prelude. The daughter can really pull out the tune? Is it still such a familiar tune? Zhao Yulan turned her head towards Lin Baohe like a robot, with her mouth half open and her eyes full of doubts. Lin Baohe's performance was similar to Zhao Yulan's. When he came back to his senses, the 2 of them turned their heads back again. At this time, the prelude ended, and Chu Xia took the lead. The sunset is red in the West Mountain, and the soldiers shoot the target and return to the camp. Fortunately, she made a start, and the 3 bastards who were staring at their toes finally adjusted their emotions. They straightened their bodies, looked ahead, and let go of their voices. The red flowers on the chest reflect the colorful clouds, and the happy singing is flying all over the sky. Although there were only 4 of them, their aura was no weaker than that of the other classes. Xiaoning Ai and the others, who just slipped over, looked at the four luminous bodies on the stage, and immediately saw the expressions of Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe. Unbelievable. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 158. Starting tomorrow, the second watch. Sitting at the front of Group A, Zhou Mikang looked at the radiant little face on the stage, and his eyes were full of confusion. This little guy lived in the countryside since he was a child, and his poor family couldn't get enough to eat. Although the accordion is not considered a difficult skill, but she can, which really surprised him. Although he can basically be regarded as a music idiot, he can still hear whether he plays smoothly or sings correctly. In terms of feeling, this little girl's playing is better than his elementary school music teacher's. The feeling of the idiot leader of the music can't rule out the fact that he didn't hear it at all, but added emotional points. Hey, Zhaoqi Liang, isn't that your little cousin? Zhaoqi Liang's comrade in arms recognized Chu Xia on the stage, and poked his arm in surprise. Am I right? That's right, it's her. Although Qi Liang Tongzi was also surprised by Chu Xia's performance, seeing the sparkling eyes of his comrade in arms, he immediately ignored all doubts and became proud. Zhaoqi Liang, isn't your little cousin a city kid? Another comrade couldn't help asking. No, Zhaoqi Liang shook his head with a smile. Chu Xia grew up in the countryside, but she is an authentic rural child. To be honest, before that, I didn't know she could play musical instruments. A little soldier sitting behind Zhaoqi Liang poked Zhaoqi Liang with bright eyes. Next time your little cousin comes to see you, introduce me to you. Zhaoqi Liang shivered subconsciously, and then his expression became serious. My little cousin is already engaged, you'd better put away any thoughts you shouldn't have. The little soldier had a resentful look on his face. At such a young age, why did you get engaged, really? Several others struggled to listen. The soldier, who was a little moved, heard Zhaoqi Liang's answer. It's also a look of regret. The same situation also happened to Luo Hunky's class. When Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian went to look for him, all of Luo Hunky's comrades in arms had seen them, and both of them were upright, so when they saw him now, they recognized them. Luo Hunky, your sister. Luo Hunky, the accordion player is the girl with your sister. Yes, yes, yes. Luo Hunky. Isn't your family from the countryside? How can that girl play the accordion? Luo Hunky is a boring gourd. People asked a lot of questions, but he was still frowning and puzzled. It wasn't until he was poked and hurt by several people that he responded in a low voice, "N. Everyone." They asked a lot of questions, and he dismissed everyone with a huh? In the adjacent team, a tall, handsome man glanced at the speechless recruits. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Lin Chuxia, he still remembered her name, and even more remembered that she was the little female soldier who helped him deliver messages to his sister. Or, can I ask my sister more about her? With everyone's thoughts on their minds, Class 3's performance ended, and Chu Xia put the accordion on the stool. He got up and stood side by side with the three second-handers, and bowed to the audience. What? Chu Xia just bent down to pick up the accordion. Luo Xiaoxian pulled her aside, picked up the accordion and ran down the stage. Early summer without defense. Pushed by her, he staggered a few times before standing still. Dean Su, who was sitting in the front row, unconsciously twitched the corners of his mouth. She must have been wronged a lot after recuperating for such a long time, but she was still so cheerful and optimistic. It seems that she really saw the right person. As soon as Chu Xia and the others got off stage, they were surrounded by sick patients from the third class. At this time, everyone had only one thought, that the third class was not ashamed, and the heroes were these four. Therefore, no one said too many compliments, but hugged the four of them one by one, and patted them hard, expressing their agitated mood at this time. Zheng Meili, who had been shocked in the office before, didn't have too many surprises. She just stood aside and looked at everyone with a smile, without saying a word. What Chusya told her was that there was an old man living in the village at that time. There were many musical instruments at home. The old man liked to tinker with these things after dinner every day. She learned from that old man. In this regard, Zenmaleigh was not without doubts. In the past few years, few people dared to tinker with these things openly. How could the old people who were sent down dare to be so blatant? Or maybe the secretary of that village is very open-minded? This is the only answer she can think of, but it doesn't make sense from the point of view. Could it be that no one in the village complained? However, no matter what, Lin Chuxia won the honor of Class 3 this time, and she didn't bother to investigate the rationality. If it was true, Lin Chuxia had many unreasonable things. Maybe if it wasn't like this, her third brother would not take a fancy to her. Her third brother is not a person who only looks at appearance, she is very, very clear about this. Hello, are you the leader of this little girl? A woman in her 40s interrupted Zenmaleigh's reverie, looked in the direction the woman pointed, and Zenmaleigh nodded, yes, already guessing the other party's purpose in her heart. She only answered without asking back. I'm Lu Yuking, the deputy head of the Beijing Army Art Troupe. This little girl is a good young girl, and our head also likes her very much. I want to ask her for advice, is that okay? Zenmaleigh nodded happily and did not stop her. She was very happy about this invitation. The second aunt was talking to her mother 2 days ago, thinking that Lin Chuxia's work in the medical team was too difficult, and she thought that after the recruiting period, she would be transferred to the art troupe. That job is easy and beautiful, and young girls like it. Unexpectedly, before her second aunt could act, the opportunity would come to her. At this moment, Zenmaleigh really felt that Lin Chuxia was so lucky that it seemed that every time she got stuck, someone would come out to give her a hand. Anyway, that's how she felt. But to her surprise, as soon as Lu Yuking made it clear, Lin Chuxia vetoed it without hesitation. She clearly saw that Lu Yuking was also stunned. Doesn't Lin Chuxia understand the benefits of the art troupe? Unfortunately, it is not convenient for her to step forward to explain at this time, so she has to stand aside and worry. Xiaolin, do you want to think about it again? Our art troupe belongs to the Beijing military region. If you perform well, you will have the opportunity to be transferred to the State General Administration. This will definitely benefit your future development. In front of everyone, Lu Yuking couldn't say too much about the face, so he had to seduce him like this. Thank you, Commander Lu, for your kindness, but I still want to stay in the medical team. Chusya refused again. She was afraid of being forced to practice piano by her parents once, and she rejected it from the bottom of her heart. Lu Yuking could only smile, turned, and left. At this time, her heart was terribly regretful. If she had known this was the result, she would not have asked in front of everyone. She felt that a little medical soldier would definitely be overjoyed at this kind of opportunity, so she wanted to fulfill her and let her show her face in front of her comrades in arms. As a result, the other party really showed his face, and she herself has lost her face. Lin Chuxia, why don't you go to the art troupe? Not everyone has this kind of opportunity. Before Lu Yuking could leave, Lu Meijun hurriedly grabbed Chuxia and asked, which made Lu Yuking, who was full of frustration, finally feel better. She has never been rejected so briskly. Luo Xiaoxian also said, that's right, Chusya, although I can't bear to part with you, I feel that this kind of place is more suitable for you. The truth cannot be told to outsiders, so Chusya smiled and said, I want to be with you. Fool, Yuan Mengmeng muttered quietly, just in time to be heard by the sharp-eared Lin Menggran, who punched her hard, you are the fool. Seeing that a few bastards were about to fight again, Zenmaleigh hurried forward, are you thinking of throwing embarrassment to the teacher? Then she glared at the sick patients, didn't I let you rest in the dormitory? Ran out. You've seen us a long time ago, why didn't you tell us? Several people thought so in their hearts, but they didn't dare to say it out of their mouths. They hurriedly said goodbye and slipped back like rabbits. As for whether they will fight again when they return to the dormitory, Zenmali is too lazy to care about it. She just wonders, why are these thorn soldiers assigned to the same class? At this time, Class 4 had already returned from the performance, and it was Class 5's turn. After a few people stopped, Zenmali pulled Chusia aside. You really don't want to go to the art troupe? No, Chusia shook her head without thinking. I am also a soldier when I go to the art troupe. I usually practice professional skills. When the army has activities, I go to participate in performances. Every few years, I can get a promotion. With your physique, going to the art troupe may be better than being in the medical team. Be nice. I know, but I just don't want to go. Zenmali. Well, she is the second. The next day we will get engaged, and after the performance in the evening, Chusia went to the guest house to accompany Sia's father and mother. As for the class, Zenmali came forward to explain, and emphasized that whoever's parents come in the future, can have 3 days holiday, but the premise is that there is only such a chance a year. These words are actually irresponsible. The training period for recruits is only 3 months. During these 3 months, whose parents will come? As Chusia expected, when they met, her parents asked her when she learned the accordion, and she brought up her explanation to Zenmali again. Didn't Grandpa Lang always mess with this at the time? I learned from him, but he wouldn't let me tell anyone. Regarding Chusia's explanation, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe accepted it after thinking about it for a while, and they refused to say anything, because they must be afraid that their daughter would be implicated. Alas, Uncle Lang is a good person, and I don't know what it's like to be away for 3 years now. It's the first time they miss Mr. Lang so much. Mr. Lang, who was living somewhere in the capital, sneezed heavily. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 159. I'm delayed because of something, I really don't have the face to meet people. I will make up for it tomorrow, and it will be 3 o'clock tomorrow, absolutely. When will I see Uncle Lang? I have to thank him very much. Our summer married to a family like Joe's, and knowing this skill will make us proud. Hearing what Zhao Yushan said, Chusia's heart jumped in her throat suddenly, and she prayed secretly in her heart, never let her parents meet Mr. Lang, anyway, don't meet them recently. That's not technology, it's art, Li Aiwan corrected her husband. No matter what it is, it's a good thing that our summer meeting is a good thing. Zhao Yushan frowned as he said, isn't it called art? Baohe, what do you think? Well, the aspect of art seems to be too big. This should be called skill, right? Lin Baohe looked at Zhao Yulan inquiringly while talking. Zhao Yulan waved her hands happily, you can call it whatever you want, technology, art, and skills. Anyway, Xia's skills are not in vain. Yes, that's what happened. Zhao Yushan glanced at the time and got up, you guys should go to bed early, we will get engaged tomorrow, if you don't have the energy to do it. After seeing off the uncle and aunt, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe quickly turned off the lights and urged Chusia to sleep. Half an hour later, Zhao Yulan quietly propped herself up, put her hand under her daughter's breath to try it out, took a long breath, got out of bed, sat beside Lin Baohe's bed, and whispered, Father, are you asleep yet? How can I sleep? Lin Baohe said as he got out of bed, and pulled Zhao Yulan to sit at the table next to the wall. Speak here, don't startle Chusia. Chusia, who was lying on the bed, pouted. How can she sleep? Her parents thought of her so heartlessly. Fearing that her parents would worry, she kept pretending to be asleep. She didn't even dare to turn over, but she was so uncomfortable, so she quickly turned over while Zhao Yulan was leaving. Seeing her daughter turning over, Zhao Yulan tiptoed to her daughter's bedside, observed her daughter carefully for a while, and then returned in peace of mind. I really fell asleep. Alas, my ability to pretend to be asleep is amazing. Think so? Tears rolled down her cheeks unconsciously. Her ability to pretend to be asleep was trained by her mother. When she was in elementary school, she was obsessed with reading novels. She had no time during the day, so she read them secretly at night. Later, her mother found out, and she appeared in her room every night. And it was during that time, constantly fighting wits and courage with my mother, I developed the ability to pretend to sleep. Unexpectedly, this time, it was used. Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma. I'm getting engaged, will you be happy for me? Once. What the elders are most looking forward to is that she can marry a good man. After they all left, someone took care of her and loved her. At this moment, is their wish fulfilled? I believe that they should be very happy. At that time, she already had a marriage partner, and she looked pretty good, and she got along well with her parents, grandparents, and grandparents. The other party comforted her family, so she, naturally, also comforted the other party's family, and marrying Zhou Mikang might be a good choice. In fact, Zhou Mikang is not annoying at all. Her rejection of him may be because he was too domineering when they first met. It's not a bad thing for a man to be domineering, but his father once abandoned his family for the sake of the country. If one day he had to choose between the country and her, he would also abandon her, right? If something happens to her, who will take care of her parents? But, what was she thinking about? It's not even getting married yet, so she started to think about it. How nervous should she be when it comes to getting married? Pulling back my thoughts, I happened to hear Zhao Yulan asking, "Don't feel any pain?" "No, it hurts for a while during the day, and then it doesn't hurt anymore." "That's good," Zhao Yulan sighed. "I've been thinking all day, alas, you said, our daughter is getting married soon, and I want you to stay with me in the future. Don't worry, I will always be with you, and I will hold my grandson together with you, and take care of my grandson." Zhao Yulan chuckled, "Still hugging your grandson? Do you want to be an immortal?" He. Lin Baohe smiled silently. Here, Chu Xia's heart was churning, she held it back, but finally couldn't hold it back. She sat up suddenly. "Father, what's wrong with you?" The sudden sound made Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe tremble in fright. Lin Baohe reacted quickly, "After lunch, I drank some cold water, and my stomach hurts. Your mother has been worrying about me." "Xia, I'm fine now, so don't think about it, go to sleep," pulled Zhao Yulan, "go to sleep." "Well, sleep." Zhao Yulan walked back to the bed and patted her daughter while talking, "Lie down and sleep, you don't want to make people laugh at you with dark circles tomorrow, do you?" Chu Xia refused to sit down. "Father, Mother, you can't lie to me, tell me everything." "I didn't lie to you. During the day, I thought about asking for a pill for your father, but your father went to the toilet, agreed, and didn't ask for it. You also know that your father has some problems that you can bear, but you never had the opportunity to ask, and you were afraid that you would be worried, so you thought about asking your father after you fell asleep. You said, you child, why are you still pretending to be asleep? Feeling restless and unable to sleep?" And Chu Xia responded, went to turn on the light, and looked at her parents carefully. "Are you sure you didn't lie to me? Dad, watch me talk." Lin Baohe stared straight at his daughter. "Xia, is Dad a liar? If there is something really going on, Dad can't keep it from you." "Then why do I feel something wrong with what you said just now?" Chu Xia looked suspicious. "I listened to Mother's voice, but I'm worried about what's wrong with Dad's body. I'm worried that your father's stomach is obviously uncomfortable, but he is still holding it in. Didn't he say that if you hold back shit, it will hurt your body. Lin Baohe glared at Zhao Yulan, what do you say in front of a child? Don't worry about the child, Zhao Yulan said while waving at Chu Xia. Okay, come to sleep quickly, don't think about it. If there is something wrong with your father, mother will not hide it from you. You said you married someone like the Zhou family. If something happens to your father, who will support you? Even for this, my mother can't hide it from you. Although she felt that Zhao Yulan's words were still a little bit wrong, but looking at her father's face, she really didn't seem to be in any discomfort. Chu Xia turned off the lights and went back to bed to lie down. After a while, he said faintly, Father, Mother. No matter when or what happens, you can't hide it from me. Otherwise, I will hate you both. After these words fell, she clearly felt Zhao Yulan's body tremble slightly. Xia, when you go to your in-laws' house in the future, you can't be so petty, otherwise, how can father and mother feel at ease? Hearing what Zhao Yulan said, Chu Xia felt relieved, and her mother trembled just now. She was worried that her going to her in-laws' house would make her temperament disgusted, so she smiled, Mother, don't worry, I won't. Hey. Xia, you have to think this way. Nothing is perfect in this world. To live a good life, you have to suppress your temper. After you get married, work hard and win the favor of your parents-in-law, so that you can gain a firm foothold in the family. The Zhou family is different from ours. The head of the Zhou family is not a child rejected by his parents. You can't make it hard for him. Father, I know, don't worry, I'm not stupid. Go to sleep. Zhao Yulan helped her daughter tuck the quilt and stopped talking. There was also no sound from Lin Baohe's side. Chu Xia stared wide-eyed for a while, then fell asleep in a daze. Early the next morning, Zhou Mikang rushed over and took his family of 3 and his uncle and aunt Xia to a restaurant outside to eat steamed buns. Then, they drove the whole family to Zhou's house. On the way, several people were silent and they were so nervous that they didn't know what to say. According to Chu Xia's observation, Zhou Mikang was also nervous, because his facial muscles were slightly stiff. In this way, it made her feel a little more balanced. When it was about to arrive, Zhou Mikang glanced at everyone from the rearview mirror and said, Father, Mother, Uncle, Aunt, when we get married, we must invite our relatives. After being taken aback for a while, Zhao Yulan understood what he meant, and then waved her hand, That's good, it's too far away, so why not talk about it? When you get married, if you are busy with work here, you don't have to run back and forth, you and I, father and your uncle and aunt can come here. Zhao Yushan echoed, It's such a thing, work is important. That's not good. Chu Xia interrupted him, It's nothing bad, and I don't want to go back to the village to show off. When the time comes, my parents, uncles and aunts, my sister-in-law and uncle, as well as Aunt Fat and Uncle Gang Shun will come, and I will be content. However, we are all poor, and you have to reimburse the travel expenses. The corners of Zhou Mikang's mouth curled and he nodded, Okay, I'll listen to you. Chu Xia's snake-beating stick hurriedly followed, It's a deal. Zhou Mikang frowned, Are you so unwilling to let others know that you are married to me? No, Chu Xia pouted, If I really invite all my relatives, well, anyway, I'm doing this for your own good, you can feel free to appreciate it or not. This child, how do you talk? Zhao Yulan glared at her daughter, then looked at Zhou Mikang apologetically, Xiaozhou, this child Xia has been spoiled by us, if she does something wrong in the future, just say, he will definitely not protect her indiscriminately. Yeah, Lin Baohe nodded, and added, Xia is younger than you, let her be more, if there is something wrong, correct it slowly. Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan looked at each other with helplessness on their faces, this brother-in-law was beyond the point of protecting the child. Zhou Mikang smiled and nodded, Father, Mother, don't worry, I'm almost 10 years older than Chu Xia, and I'll let her. She's still a child, so I won't be angry with her. I'm a child and you still marry me. Mao Xia was not happy. Teach me slowly after I'm married, Zhou Mikang said while scanning Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe from the rearview mirror. Father, mother, you won't blame me if I teach her, right? Zhao Yulan, no wonder. Lin Baohe, see how to teach. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 160. One more. The Zhou family became lively early in the morning, and even the old lady Zhou, who was not very satisfied with the marriage, was dressed in a new look and waited in the hall early. In the past 2 days, Mr. Zhou has been persuading her a lot. It is rare for the grandson to let go, and the relationship with the eldest son has made substantial progress. If she continues to oppose her like this, it will only make the relationship between the grandson and his family become more and more serious in the future. Estranged. The latter sentence touched the old lady. It's not that she can't see the suffering of the eldest son these years. If because of her opposition, the relationship between the father and son, which was finally unfrozen, fell into a frozen period again, and the relationship with her also fell into a frozen period, that's all. Since the grandson likes it and can make the family harmonious, why should she do that annoying thing again? The Zhou family, who knew the old lady's temper well, waited. Seeing that the old lady's face finally cleared up, they knew that the matter was over for the time being, and the stone that weighed on their hearts finally came down. With the old lady's temper, if she can't think clearly, it is very possible that she will not give face to the Lin family in front of all relatives and friends at the engagement banquet, or if it is more serious, she will simply not attend, even if the Lin family doesn't care. What do outsiders think? The old lady has such a temper, she is upset, so she doesn't care what outsiders think of the Zhou family, but this time her change made everyone really happy. Mr. Zhou also breathed a sigh of relief. He married Mrs. Zhou back then, following his father's order. He also had a childhood sweetheart, but unfortunately, Shangwu's father forced him to marry Xie Minjiao from a martial arts family. That is Mrs. Zhou. Xie Minjiao has a good heart and a straightforward personality. She will be tolerant to the extreme. If she doesn't like it, she will be indifferent to the extreme. Now that she is older, her temper has been restrained a lot. People who don't know her will still think of her as a kind old lady. However, she is indeed a kind old lady for the person she likes, and her attitude has changed this time. For Mr. Zhou, it was a surprise. If Xie Minjiao was young, he would definitely not have this change. All in all, his grandson Zhou Mikang's character was very similar to that of the old lady, which may be the reason why she was afraid when he mentioned that his grandson was separated from her. Zhou Mikang's fourth sister, Zhou Xiangping, quietly looked at the old lady's expression, and sat beside the old lady. Take a small cell, Grandma, you are so beautiful today, you can compare us all. The old lady wore a fuchsia cheongsam today, made of gold velvet. Faintly embellished with gold threads, it is elegant and luxurious. Really, Mrs. Zhou squinted at her. Are you already demented as a grandma? The second sister Zhou Jiping came over. Grandma, fourth sister is telling the truth. With your demeanor and temperament, there is no comparison between us. The mother-in-law Lin Yangkai quickly answered her daughter's words. Mom, you are really an elegant old lady today. After finally looking forward to a young daughter-in-law, she didn't want her mother-in-law to disturb her, and she was happy to let her coax the old lady now. Okay, you think I don't know what you mean, Mrs. Zhou rolled her eyes. Today is my grandson's engagement, and I'm very happy. The meaning of these words is to reassure everyone that even if she is pretending, she will pretend to pass this day. Mrs. Joe is a person who says what she says, and with her assurance, all the people waiting have really put their hearts into their stomachs. While the juniors were busy with their work, Mr. Joe sat down beside the old lady with a smile. "My wife, what the children are talking about is not all coaxing you. You really look good in the clothes you wear today." "Really?" Mrs. Joe looked at Mr. Joe in disbelief. "Don't follow them to join in the fun. We have been husband and wife all our lives. Do you think I will lie to you about this matter? If I have this kind of thought, I will persuade you these days, which is not the way to persuade you. Think about it, isn't it like this thing?" The old lady Joe tried her best to think back for a while, and finally nodded her head firmly. "Indeed, the old man has been persuading her for the past 2 days, but he never tried to coax her as he liked. This dress really suits you." Mr. Joe looked at Mrs. Joe carefully, his eyes full of appreciation. Women, no matter how old they are, who doesn't love beauty? Mrs. Joe is of course no exception. After so many years of marriage, this is the first time that Mr. Joe has praised her for her taste in clothes. There is no change on her face, but she is extremely happy in her heart. She had seen old man Joe's childhood sweetheart, that old lady, who was quite old, but still elegant and quiet, with a soft voice when speaking. Even if she was a woman, she would want to look at her more. Therefore, in terms of dressing and personal temperament, she has a deep inferiority complex. Now that her wife looks at her with such eyes and praises her in such a tone, how can she be unhappy? The smile quickly filled the eyes. It was because of looking at the woman's clothes. She made such a dress by accident, and now it seems that she really did the right thing. Maybe, next year we will be able to have a great-grandson. Mr. Joe is now picking out what Mrs. Joe likes to hear, and there are several old men and women who are about the same age in the yard who are holding great-grandchildren. The old lady is not happy about it? Sure enough, after hearing these words, the old lady's eyes became more joyful, and for a moment, she even felt that there was nothing she couldn't accept if she was a great-grandson-in-law. Afterwards, there was another layer of worry on the face. The eldest grandson Josei has been married for more than 2 years, and the eldest grandson's wife has not moved in her stomach. Experts have read a lot and said that the 2 children are very healthy. But the sperm and eggs are mutually exclusive, and now it has been treated for more than a year, but it still has no effect. It's a happy day. Don't think too much. Mr. Joe knew what the old lady was thinking when he saw the expression on her face, so he quickly patted her hand to comfort her. The old lady sighed. After a few days, let Zikang and Dao Tao go to check and see if there is any progress. Okay, you can do whatever you want. For now, let's do the happy event first. Mr. Joe patted the old lady. Don't let the children misunderstand. Mrs. Joe forced a smile, and her complexion softened a little. At this time, the grandson-in-law Yu Tao entered the door with a haggard complexion. After greeting the busy people, she went straight to the old man and the old lady. "Grandpa, Grandma, I am back." The old lady pointed to the vacant seat on the opposite side and signaled him to sit down. "Is your mother better?" Yu Tao's mother had a heart attack. During this time, several children of Yu's family took turns to accompany the bed. "It's much better." Although she was exhausted, the smile on Yu Tao's face was real. "I can eat liquid food since yesterday, and the doctor said that my mother is recovering very well. After a month, I think she will be almost as healthy as a healthy person." Okay, that's good." The smile on old Madame Joe's face relaxed. "I wanted to visit her yesterday, but your grandpa refused to let her go, saying that he was afraid of affecting your mother's rest." "Grandma, you are too polite. We are a family. Where do you get so much talk?" Yu Tao looked at the old man and the old lady gratefully. "My mother and my father told me to be filial to you. The 2 aunts that my grandparents sent to stay with me on the bed are professional. We brothers and sisters can't compare with them at all, and my grandma and mother-in-law also worry about the surgery. This child," the old lady interrupted her, How can the whole family talk about these outsiders? She patted her hand as she spoke. Go back to the room and take a nap for a while to rest your mind. It will probably take a while for them to come over. By then let Aunt John call you. Grandma, I'll just go and wash my face. I slept for several hours at night. Didn't I tell you that the person you and Grandpa sent to accompany the bed is professional, so we don't need to worry about it at all, Udobai? And he stood up and went to the bathroom. Mr. Joe sighed slightly. My wife is a granddaughter-in-law. After a long time, you will have feelings. The old lady Joe gave old man Joe a blank look. She didn't say a word. She has lived all her life. How can she not know what her wife means? It's nothing more than letting her level the bowl of water. Don't do it too outrageously, it will hurt the heart of another granddaughter-in-law. In fact, there is not much to be busy with, but Joe Mikang has had a deserted relationship with his family these years, and has always refused to get married. This time he finally let go, and no one is not excited. I am busy looking for work, scrub here, wash there, wipe again when I go back, and look again. Lin Yangkaiu, Liang Xiaohong, and the third aunt Lu Lingmei, who just rushed back last night, even cooked the food in person. For this nephew and daughter-in-law whom she had never met, Lu Lingmei was full of curiosity. She would look forward to the door from time to time. She really wanted to know what kind of girl was able to impress that little stubborn head. She has a lot of worries about the little stubborn head's marriage. She has a good girl with good conditions. She always thinks about the little stubborn head. Unfortunately, the little stubborn head just doesn't appreciate it. And later on, even when he saw her, he didn't like to talk to her. If she hadn't watched little stubborn grow up, and knew how much he had suffered, she wouldn't have wanted to worry about it, making herself a different person inside and out. One after another, the juniors in the family also rushed back, and for a while, the room was buzzing with people. When Chu Xia and his group entered the room, they found that countless lines of sight shot over them like searchlights. Zhao Yulan, Lin Baohe, Zhao Yishan, and Li Aiwan immediately felt their calves go limp. Fortunately, a few people kept in mind not to embarrass Chu Xia. They were nervous, but they had stiff smiles on their faces. These people couldn't see it, so they just looked ahead. Looking at the people in this room in early summer is also a bit dizzy. There are so many family members this week. There must be 30 or 40 mouths in the dark one, right? Fortunately, the Zhou family's house is big enough, otherwise, it would be really difficult to let go of such people. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 161. To make up for yesterday's update, Nuan's health is not good, sometimes he can't help himself. Please be considerate of Nuan. In-laws. Fast forward. Seeing that Zhao Yulan and the others were uncomfortable, Zhou Jingping and Lin Yangkaiu stepped forward first, hugging the couple affectionately and walking inside. Second Uncle Zhou Gangping and second Aunt Liang Xiaohong greeted Zhao Yishan and Li Aiwan at the same time, while Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping held back the rest of Chu Xia. If it weren't for Zhou Mikang's temperament, it is estimated that all the juniors would gather around. The juniors who have never met Chu Xia are all looking at Chu Xia with curious eyes at this time. I believe that the mind is similar to that of the third aunt Lu Lingmei. What is so special about the future third sister-in-law, third sibling, that can make the third elder brother, third younger brother, change his mind? While Zhou Xiangping held back Chu Xia, she blinked at Zhou Mikang. Third brother, you go and do your work. The third sister-in-law will be taken care of by me and the second sister, so don't worry about it. Zhou Mikang glanced at her and nodded. Take care of her. Wow. The eyes of the juniors were wide open in shock. Today is really an eye-opener. What is so special about this future third sister-in-law that the third brother, who has always been honest with girls, not only accepts her, but also accepts her? Still protecting her like this. After everyone was seated, Both Zhao Yulan and Zhao Yushan still hadn't recovered from their senses. As for how they got there just now, they couldn't remember clearly. Lin Yangqiu affectionately stroked Zhao Yulan's hand and introduced, "Family, everyone here today is from our own family. You have already met the second uncle, second aunt, sister-in-law, and younger uncle of the third child, the third uncle Zhou Gangping and the third aunt Lu Lingmei. This is the third uncle and third aunt. The boy and girl in the back are their sons and daughters, and the girl is from his sister-in-law's family. The boy and girl are from the second uncle's family." Looking in the direction Lin Yangqiu pointed, Zhao Yulan and the others felt a little dizzy, and even felt that everyone looked similar, so they habitually nodded their heads in greeting. In fact, after the greeting, they couldn't remember who was who at all. Lin Yangqiu just wanted to ease the tension of the Lin family, so after the introduction, then he waved his hands at all the juniors, "Don't crowd around here, you haven't seen each other for a long time, go play by yourself." Halala. Half of the crowd dispersed immediately. Chu Xia was dragged to the side hall by Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping, and the juniors naturally followed. The third aunt Lu Lingmei looked around for a while, and finally restrained her eagerness to follow her. "Drink water, I'm tired from this journey." The old lady Zhou greeted with a pleasant face. This made Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe, who had been anxious all the time, finally settled down. What they were most worried about was that the old lady of the Zhou family still didn't accept Chu Xia. Based on what they observed, among the people the Zhou family had met before, was the old lady Zhou. The others probably have no complaints about Chu Xia, but this one is fatal. After all, where is the identity? Now I saw that the old lady not only came out to accompany the guests. He also put down his posture to greet them. The couple were so excited that they couldn't help themselves. However, keep the previous lessons in mind. Both of them responded with a smile, and when their emotions calmed down, they carefully picked up the cup and took a sip to show the old lady face, and not to knock over the cup again because of nervousness. Alas, for them, to do this, so difficult. Up to now, the couple's legs are still shaking, and they glanced quietly at Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan, and the situation is not much better. "Xiaomi, don't worry about us," Lu Lingmei smiled at Zhou Mi, who was sitting next to Lin Baohe, "afraid that we will bully your father-in-law and mother-in-law and dare not leave the ground." "Yes." Zhou Mikang looked at her lightly, "I don't worry about others, but you." His words provoked Liang Xiaohong, the second aunt, to spout, and then she explained to Zhao Yulan and the others with a smile, "He just remembers his third aunt, and the family's favorite used to introduce him to him. The target is his third aunt." I have a good heart. When mentioning this matter, Lu Lingmei felt aggrieved. I did it because of him, and he ignored me in a cocky manner. Listen to what he said just now. Alas, it's hard to be a good person. Okay, just how often you bring girls back? Every 3 days, not to mention him. I'm also annoying. Third uncle Zhou Gangping stared at his wife. You are so unreliable. Lu Lingmei looked at the old lady Zhou with an aggrieved face. Mom, you make the decision for me. I won't make the decision for you. Mrs. Zhou didn't cooperate at all. I don't care if you bring those back. Liang Xiaohong just smiled. Yes, once I brought back a girl from the post office. She looked pretty good, but when she was talking, she kept staring at the ceiling of our house, so I also stared at it for a long time, thinking that there were flowers growing on it. The old lady also curled her lips. There is another one, who also looks good, but when she comes in, she first asks if she can live in our house after she gets married. Can her parents live in our house? And when it comes to her elder brother and sister-in-law, I thought she would bring her elder brother and sister-in-law to live with us too. Yeah, I thought she was going to bring her brother and sister-in-law here. My sister-in-law Zhou Yueping patted Li Aiwan's arm while smiling. Sister-in-law, what do you think she is going to do? Li Aiwan had no choice but to cooperate and ask, what are you doing? She wants our family to arrange her brother to go to a certain department. Do you know what her brother and sister-in-law do? Zhou Yueping pouted, the assembly line workers in the factory didn't even go to elementary school, so I really convinced her. How dare you say that, no matter how much we think about our daughter-in-law, we can't do things that are detrimental to the interests of the country. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe, Zhao Yulan and Li Aiwan looked at each other in dismay. Is this what Mao meant? Warn them not to have such thoughts in the future? Don't worry, we won't have such a request. We just hope that after Chu Xia gets married, the Zhou family will treat her sincerely, and the head of Xiaozhou will love her sincerely. As for me and her mother, her uncle and aunt are neither the kind of person who only thinks about getting rich when she sees that she is married well. However, I also said ugly things first. If the Zhou family dares to bully her, I will risk my life, and I have to seek justice for her. As long as the interests of his daughter are involved, Lin Baohe will explode with a genetic mutation, and this time is no exception. Zhou Yueping looked embarrassed. Brother Lin, you misunderstood. I really didn't mean that. When I said it just now, I didn't even think about it. I just wanted to say it to make you guys have fun. Su Zhenghong also hurriedly chimed in, Brother Lin, Yu Ping is telling the truth. She has such a straightforward temper. When she said those words just now, she didn't even think about it. The old lady Zhou curled her lips and said nothing, but she felt a little disdainful of Lin Baohe in her heart. It's just such a trivial matter. As for going online? His daughter is married, and the Zhou family still says they can't touch it? Not to mention the family background of the Lin family, even the Ye family wouldn't dare to say that. Okay. Married to someone else's family to be a daughter-in-law, you have to make offerings like a bodhisattva, don't you? Zhao Yulan smiled at everyone apologetically. Her father has such a temper. Our family Xia was physically weak when she was young, and there were always children from other families bullying her. Her father got used to protecting her. When Chu Xia gets married in the future, if she does something wrong, everyone needs to teach her more. She is just a child, and it is inevitable that she will do something wrong. I just hope that everyone will stop blaming her and give her a chance to correct herself. Don't worry, my in-laws, we will treat her as my own daughter. Lin Yangkai hurriedly expressed her opinion, but secretly said in her heart that the two are also wonderful people. When it is time, it will not be them immediately. Alas, this is being apparent. In fact, why aren't she and her husband not? If before, Lin Yangkai accepted the Chu Xia family only because of her son's acceptance, then at this moment, she fell in love with the Chu Xia family from the bottom of her heart. She really doesn't like that kind of wimpy doormat people. They have to be angry and bloody. This means that the mood is different, the thinking is different, and the same thing, in the eyes of Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangkai, is completely two results. Lu Lingmei hates Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan now. In her opinion, the girl she introduced to Zhou Mikang before is no better than Lin Chuxia in terms of body, looks, and family background. Even the girl they mentioned who asked her family to live here is better than Lin Chuxia. This Lin Chuxia's parents said that they didn't want to be exposed, and when they really got married, they probably wouldn't have such a face, and judging by their current attitude, they would definitely not be able to get along with each other in the future. I really don't know what my nephew looks like. Yes, Lin Chuxia's appearance is passable, but at first glance, she doesn't look like Zhenzhong Miaohong is a leader who can take the lead in work. Who is the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family who is not a leader inside and outside? It seems that from here on, the style of the Zhou family will change. Alas, no matter who makes this nephew the most capable and the most thought-provoking, no matter whether he chooses right or wrong, he will never be persuaded. Father, mother, uncle, aunt, don't worry, no one in this family dares to embarrass Chu Xia. If there is, I will take her out and we will live by ourselves. Lu Lingmei was still complaining about all kinds of dissatisfaction, and Zhou Mikang, who was sitting next to Lin Baohe, expressed her opinion in public. If Lu Lingmei was thinking about turning the situation around before, now she has no thoughts. She knows her nephew's temper very well. Now that she has said so, she will definitely do it. It's better not to provoke that suspicion. In the future, her own daughter-in-law will just keep it in check. Mr. Zhou glared at his daughter angrily, then looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. Xiao Lin, Xiao Zhao, they don't know how to speak, so don't take it to heart. Don't worry, our Zhou family is reasonable. It's not that my old woman doesn't accept Chu Xia, she's such a one-sided person, and when she gets along with Chu Xia for a while, she might be the one who protects Chu Xia the most. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 162. Make up. This is still to make up for yesterday. What I owe today, I will pay it back slowly. Anyway, I will pay it off in the near future. I will not promise the specifics. Yesterday, my dog passed away. I am really not in the mood. Then, the body is affected by emotions, and it also gets worse, alas. When Mr. Zhou said this, Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan felt embarrassed. Thinking about it carefully, they felt that they were making a big fuss, so they all stood up. Our nurse Chu Xia is used to it. Of course we know that the Zhou family will not bully her. I just get nervous and don't know what to say, so I just talk nonsense. Zhao Yulan pushed Lin Baohe as she spoke. You always mess up. Lin Baohe rubbed his head in embarrassment. Uncle Zhou, Aunt Zhou, in-laws, everyone, I'm a rough person, I don't know how to speak, so don't bother with me. Mr. Zhou waved his hands at the couple. Sit down, I have nothing to say. In terms of family background, the Lin family is not as good as the Zhou family, but because of this, I like your attitude. Yeah, brother Lin has a real temperament, and sister, you are even more transparent. We are really happy to have such an in-law, Lin Yangkao said while poking Zhou Jingping. Don't you think so? Zhou Jingping nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. Zhou Yueping, who was in trouble, also hurriedly said, Brother Lin, sister-in-law, you will know after a long time with me. I am a straightforward person. What I said at that time was to make you feel more relaxed. There is no other meaning. Nothing. Sister, this is our fault. The conditions of the Lin family are not as good as those of the Zhou family. We always have a feeling in our bones. Chu Xia will feel looked down upon and bullied. Sometimes if you are boring, we may think too much. However, I believe that you can all understand the feelings of her father and I. Although there is only such a child, although the family conditions are not good, she is really our treasure. She has never been wronged since she was a child. This child is born with a temperament that can't stand being wronged. We are really afraid that something will happen to her, us. We are such a girl. I have to say that Zhao Yulan is indeed a smart woman. Although this remark is a mistake, it also shows that although the Lin family's family is not as good as the Zhou family's, the daughter of the Lin family was treated as a treasure. If the Zhou family can't continue to love her, or it's not too late to regret it now, lest we make us regret it in time, and you will not be happy. Of course, Lin Yangkao heard the meaning behind her words, and smiled and hugged her shoulders. I know. The in-laws are not willing to let their daughter get married early. Thinking of us repenting, you can keep her for a few more years, in-laws. You can count on it. Wrong, Chu Xia is the daughter-in-law of our Zhou family. This will never change. He. The idea was seen through. Zhao Yulan smiled embarrassedly. Zhao Yushan breathed a sigh of relief. He was almost scared to death by his sister and brother-in-law. Why didn't he realize that they were also stubborn when he was at home? You said that you came to such a family, what kind of mess are you spouting? In case Zhou's family really regretted it, where would they find such a good in-laws family in the future? As far as the officials he met before, he didn't talk about others, he just said that the second sister's husband's family was just a director of a commune, and the second sister just wrote the score to find a top-notch daughter-in-law, and after the score was done, she wanted to take care of the daughter-in-law in hand. What is the identity of the Joe family? Do you see his attitude? Do you see his attitude? Be content. Don't say that people have such an attitude, even if they like to ignore her. We shouldn't make any monsters. When Chusya gets married, behave well, and after giving birth to a boy, still worry about the unstable status in the Joe family. At that time, only enjoyment is left. No, when he goes back, he will absolutely beat this pair of idiots. Why are they so honest at home, but they are not them when they come out? After thinking so much in his heart, Zhao Yushan's lips moved, but he didn't say a word. Or this is Fang Bold, who has no desires and no desires. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe are not part of the system. It is said that the most important thing is the daughter, and everything is worth doing for the daughter. And Zhao Yushan, from a team leader to a secretary, was pushed down and then helped up. Although he is not a person who only cares about power, he will give up his rights first for the sake of his family, but when he really faces these things that he usually wants to see when he couldn't see a senior official, the fear in his bones would unknowingly radiate out, so that his performance was not as good as Li Aiwan. Li Aiwan is chatting with second Aunt Liang in full swing at the moment. Unlike him who is a boring gourd, well, he has successfully taken over Lin Baohe's shift. Oh, and there is Zhou Mikang who is almost as boring as him. Ever since he made promises to Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, he has been quietly sitting on the sidelines as a listener. Even if Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan questioned him later, he didn't say anything. In fact, as far as his character is concerned, the previous guarantee is already the maximum limit. If this marriage was not facilitated by his wishful thinking, it is estimated that he would never do such a thing. Third brother and sister, we have been looking forward to you for many years. You don't know, my mother is going crazy thinking about the third daughter-in-law. My father said that my mother is always worrying about the third brother's marriage in her dreams. Yes, sister-in-law San, if it weren't for the fear that my child would be older than third brother's child, I wouldn't have gotten married and never had a baby. He has delayed me. Sister-in-law 3, how did you and my third brother meet? Sister-in-law 3, is it the third brother you like first or the third brother who likes you first? I guess it was the third sister-in-law who first fell in love with the third brother. Well, I think that's the case too. As far as the third brother is so stubborn, if he falls in love with the third sister-in-law, he will definitely not take the initiative. In the side hall, Chu Xia was surrounded by a group of sisters, brothers, and brothers. Hearing everyone's inquiries, his head grew big. Whose question should she answer? Besides, apart from Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping, the rest of the younger generation made it clear that she and Zhou Mikang's marriage was the result of her shameless face. Even if she told the truth, they probably wouldn't believe it. In the end, she simply let everyone chatter and sip the tea with the cup in small sips. If she didn't drink the tea, she had to keep smiling. She was afraid that her face would freeze from laughing. You guys, come one by one, are you going to make a fuss? Sister-in-law Yu Tao smiled and pushed everyone back, and took advantage of the opportunity to sit next to Chu Xia. Don't bother with them, they are a bunch of worry-free people. Sister-in-law, you have a biased eye. A round-faced girl pouted her mouth coquettishly. In the past, you loved me the most, but now you actually say that I don't care. Don't join in the fun, I will continue to love you. Yu Tao looked at Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping with a smile. You say, don't you? Of course, Zhou Xiangping hugged the round-faced girl into her arms. Come on, let fourth sister love you. Ah, the girl rolled her eyes and stuck out her tongue. It's over, fourth sister strangled me to death. Then she opened her eyes and smiled. Sister-in-law 3, I'm Su Shuxian, do you still remember me? Of course Chu Xia nodded with a smile, thinking that no one can remember you if you can't remember, you have such a lady's name, a tomboy hair, and a tomboy style. Looking at the shy young man behind, Su Shuxian's older brother Su Yan, it is clear that he has a gender mismatch with Su Shuxian. The child would blush when he opened his mouth, and spoke softly. I really don't understand. Aunt Jo and Mr. Su have such bright temperaments. How could they teach their son to be like this? It's the third brother you're chasing, right? At this time, a tall woman who looked about 24 or 5 years old changed the topic back. She is Jo Iping, the eldest daughter of Uncle Joe's family. She is 23 years old, married and has a daughter. Sensing the hostility in her words, Chu Xia frowned, and the smile on his face gradually faded. No. You didn't chase after me. Jo Iping raised her eyebrows and looked her up and down. Then why does the third brother fall in love with you? Don't say you are compared with Sister Myru, even those girls introduced by my mother, you are not attractive enough of. Jo Iping, Zhou Xiangping frowned and stared at her. Are you crazy? Just because the third brother didn't order any of the women your mother introduced, are you sore? Now in front of the big guys, I would like to make a statement. My third sister-in-law was chased by my third brother with all means. If it weren't for my third brother's insistence, my third sister-in-law would never agree to get engaged right now, nor would she agree to marry him. Don't use your stupid brains to think about it, she is my third sister-in-law. From today on, whoever is right with my third sister-in-law is right with me, Zhou Xiangping. At that time, don't think that I, Zhou Xiangbo, will turn my face and deny people. Zhou Jiping also said with a serious face, me too, I, Zhou Jiping, will always stand by my sister and my siblings. It feels so good to be protected. The thorns on Chu Xia's body slowly receded. Just now she was thinking that if no one spoke for her, she would have to cancel today's engagement and have a dispute with this annoying woman. Wouldn't it be easy to bully her when she was weak and from a poor family? She used to be not weak and her family was not bad. When did she suffer from such a boring bird? Snored. Uncle forbearance, auntie can't bear it. Jo Iping couldn't hold back anymore. You two are mad dogs, right? Bite me for an outsider. Zhou Xiangping pointed out directly, get lost. This sister-in-law has a really violent temper, she likes it. Thinking of this in her heart, a bright smile appeared on Chu Xia's face, and she leaned closer to Zhou Xiangping unconsciously. Being so attached by the future third sister-in-law, Zhou Xiangping sat up straighter, and looked down on Zhou Iping, who was blushing. If you don't want to get lost, just pretend to be dumb from now on. After a while, Zhou Iping calmed down and smiled at Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping. This is my third brother's engagement party, of course I want to attend. Even if what I just asked didn't please you, it's because you don't know the truth. Ask other brothers and sisters, do they think the same way I do? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 163. One more. Among all the juniors in the Zhou family, Zhou Iping is the most competitive character. If she doesn't take the lead in everything, she will never give up. For example, Zhou Xiangping's husband, Liao Hui, now serves as the deputy director of a commune under the jurisdiction of Shangjing. Zhou Iping often laments that the countryside is poor, the countryside is chaotic, and life in the countryside is unwatchable in front of Zhou Xiangping. At first, Zhou Xiangping argued with her, but after a long time, she didn't bother to talk to her anymore. She and Liao Hui grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Mother Liao treated her closer than a real daughter. But ever since she married into Liao's family, she didn't feel any difference between being married and not being married at all. She wanted to go back to her mother's house, to her husband's house, to see her husband go to the countryside, and no one would interfere with her freedom. Unlike Joe Iping, since she got married, she has been under strict control by her husband's family. To put it bluntly, she is simply jealous, so Joe Xiangping didn't bother to argue with her. Sometimes I even feel that Joe Iping is quite pitiful. Although in her mother's family, she likes to argue about everything, but in her husband's family, she dare not say a word when she is in charge. Joe Iping married the Xiao family, a rising star in politics. She felt a vague rejection of the Zhou family, a family that developed from bloody battles during the war years. Back then, it was Joe Iping who caught Xiao Yuan at first sight, but Xiao Yuan didn't have any feelings for her. The two were able to be together in the end. It was all the result of Joe Iping's initiative. Ordinarily, the Xiao family should be overjoyed about marrying the Zhou family, but the result is parents on both sides don't want to see each other. Such a situation. One can imagine Joe Iping's status in the Liao family after her marriage. But even more so, Joe Iping met people from her natal family. The more I want to try my best to add luster to my face, I want to prove that my choice is correct. In fact, everyone knew what kind of life Joe Iping lived in Liao's house, so they didn't bother to argue with her, but this time, it was too unkind for her to do so. Before, most of the juniors of the Zhou family were really suspicious of what kind of means this third sister-in-law was using. Only then did it attract the attention of the third brother, and Jin'er won the favor of the third brother, but after Zhou Xiangping explained it, no one in Jedi would think about it. What is Zhou Xiangping's temper? That's a master who doesn't lie if he loses his head. What does she think of Zhou Iping, and as if they don't know? The law does not blame everyone. If they all thought that way, the third brother would not have kicked everyone out of the engagement banquet. When they are fools. The price of the law not to blame the public is. The third brother never waited to see them again. The leader of the Zhou family's younger generation doesn't want to see them, so how will they mess around in the future? Sixth sister, she is the sixth eldest among the juniors of the Zhou family. I didn't think that way. I can tell from the attitude of the third brother that it is the third sister-in-law who the third brother chases after. Yeah, I think so too. If you say that I had some ideas before, but after the fourth sister proved it, I have no ideas at all. Fourth sister, if third brother asks, you have to testify for me. I respect the third sister-in-law chosen by third brother. Everyone is chattering. Zhou Iping's complexion became more and more ugly. She just pulled everyone to testify because she felt that her grandparents, uncles, and aunts agreed to let Lin Chuxia marry in. There is no way out of 10. The third brother has insisted on not marrying a wife for so many years, and he finally let go. It is estimated that even if he is a Sao, the elders will agree. But based on her understanding of the third brother, marrying Lin Chuxia probably didn't want the elders to talk about it anymore. Then, after getting married, Lin Chuxia's status in the Zhou family can be imagined. Since this is the case, isn't it obvious who everyone chooses to turn to at this time? Her father-in-law, who is currently at the ministerial level, is also a celebrity in front of a certain boss, and her husband Xiao Yuan, a 27-year-old deputy, is not much different from the third brother. If the current situation continues, it will not be difficult to surpass the third brother one day. Why is the father-in-law's family unwilling to associate with the Zhou family? It's a little bit different to not conspire with each other. Besides, in terms of the development trend of these years, the Xiao family is no worse than the Zhou family, at least she thinks so. A family without any foundation, to achieve today's achievements, does not fully explain the problem. These cousins, and cousins are too ignorant of politics. They were so intimidated by Zhou Xiangping and betrayed her. Then, one day, they will regret today's choice. What are you doing? Zhou Mikang frowned as soon as he came over and saw all the cousins surrounding Chu Xia and his two younger sisters, quacking like ducks. They all like the third sister-in-law, so come here to say hello. Zhou Xiangping looked at Zhou Mikang with a smile. Third brother, the third sister-in-law is so popular, how do you feel? Eat. Zhou Mikang threw down the two words, turned and walked out. Boring, Zhou Xiangping pouted, and pulled Chu Xia up. Sister-in-law, let's go to eat, don't be afraid, with me by your side, whoever dares to say that you are not good, I will beat him to death. Third sister, if any elder says that third sister-in-law is not good, you will beat her to death too, Su Shuxian said as she glanced at Zhou Yiping. Obviously, she meant Aunt Lu Lingmei on Wednesday. Same, Zhou Xiangping snorted coldly, this is my third sister-in-law, so it's none of other people's business. Fourth, Zhou Jiping glared at her, you are a girl. I'm not a lady at all, Zhou Xiangping said while poking Su Shuxian. Xiaoxian, you should be a lady, or I'm sorry for the name my sister gave you. Fart lady. If I really did that, they will probably burn me to death as a monster. Xiaoxian, don't talk like that, Su Shuxian immediately stretched out her hand and smacked her face from top to bottom, and put on a sour smile, brother, what do you want me to say? Zhou Xiangping staggered and waved her hands again and again, okay, you better not be a lady. She turned to look at Su Yan, hey, learn from Xiaoxian, the big man speaks softly, I can't stand you, do you think you look like a descendant of a soldier? The Zhou family has been in the army for several generations, and most of the juniors in the family, male or female, are bold and forthright. The only exception is Su Yan. Everyone arrived at the hall in murmurs, and the meals were already set, with one table for the elders and two tables for the younger generations. Chu Xia naturally sat with Zhou Jiping and Zhou Xiangping. In addition, Zhou Mikang also sat at this table, which made most of the juniors quietly move to another table. Because of what happened just now, Zhou Yiping originally wanted to avoid Zhou Mikang, but just at this time, her husband Xiao Yuan rushed over, which made Zhou Yiping, who felt that his face was extremely bright, immediately get up happily again, and pulled Xiao Yuan to sit with a shy face. Arrived next to Zhou Mikang. Xiao Yuan is tall and thin, with silky eyes, fair complexion, and parted hair. When Chu Xia took a few glances at him, he felt uncomfortable all over. In my impression, villains in movies and TV have such an image, especially the one in the middle. Splitting up, it makes her feel uncomfortable. It's true that everyone's eyes are full of flowers. Looking at Zhou Yiping, those eyeballs are almost glued to Xiao Yuan's body. Xiao Yuan, who had been sizing up Chu Xia carefully, smiled and nodded at Chu Xia when she saw Chu Xia looking over. Immediately, Chu Xia had goosebumps all over her body, and the other party's eyes were so disgusting. Zhou Xiangping, who was holding Chu Xia's arm, felt the sudden bulge in Chu Xia, and asked doubtfully, cold? Chu Xia stroked his arms, calmed down the disgusting feeling in his heart, and smiled at the other party, it's not cold. Hey, what are you doing? Let me go, Zhou Xiangping was still wondering, but her third brother was already walking out with Xiao Yuan's collar. It happened so suddenly that everyone didn't understand what was going on, including Zhou Yiping, so they watched Xiao Yuan struggling like a chicken and being thrown out. When Zhou Mikang came back, Zhou Yiping realized that she didn't bother to ask questions, and ran out. At this time, Lu Lingmei also came back to her senses, and she looked at Zhou Mikang, what's going on? Ask Xiao Yuan. Zhou Mikang didn't even stop, and sat back in his seat. In fact, at this moment, everyone in the Zhou family basically guessed without asking, what kind of temper Xiao Yuan is. They are not clear, only the temper of the third child. Let Xiao Yuan taste the feeling of being chopped off by the knife on the head also good. Therefore, just when Lu Lingmei wanted to question, Mr. Zhou stood up, I would like to say a few words on this happy day today. From today onwards, Chu Xia will be a member of our Zhou family. Whether it is the elders of the Zhou family or juniors, We must treat her as a member of this family and protect her, he said, looking at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. Don't worry, Xiao Lin and Xiao Zhao, being the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family is the same as being the daughter of the Lin family. Although Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan didn't know why their future son-in-law did what they did just now, they were not stupid. Looking at everyone's expressions and Mr. Zhou's attitude, they understood that this was to support Chu Xia of their family. The couple immediately stood up and bowed deeply to Mr. Zhou. Chu Xia married into the Zhou family, we can rest assured, Zhao Yulan said. Lu Lingmei stood stiffly beside Zhou Mikang, feeling ups and downs. The old man's attitude indicated that she would not be allowed to pursue Zhou Mikang's responsibility. She understood her own son-in-law's temper, but no matter what, she wouldn't be such a person. Take it out face to face. After this, how can we meet again? Rebelling against the father-in-law. She doesn't have the guts, she's not as confused as her daughter, she always thinks that the Xiao family will overwhelm the Zhou family, not to mention that she is the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family. Even if she is not, she can see very clearly that the relationship between the two families basically, it's definitely not the same thing. There is absolutely no comparison between Xiao Yuan and Zhou Mikang. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 164. The second watch arrives. I'm turtle speed Nuan, I'm going to crawl to sleep. When Zhou Yiping came out of the Zhou family's yard, she saw her husband Xiao Yuan standing at the door with a flushed face and an angry face. Yuan, are you okay? Zhou Yiping said while tugging at Xiao Yuan's sleeve and looking him up and down. Let go, Xiao Yuan frowned and threw her away. If you hadn't insisted on letting me come over, would I have to suffer this humiliation? I'm sorry, I didn't know that my third brother would get mad in front of those people. Don't be angry. Let's go in. Grandma will give us justice. Xiao Yuan snorted coldly. Okay, your family is holding him like a treasure, what justice can you seek? Zhou Yiping, if I enter the Zhou family's door again in the future, I will turn around. Yuan, come in with me. Even if you turn against the Zhou family, I will seek justice for you. Why should he treat you like this? Zhou Yiping said while pulling at Xiao Yuan, it doesn't matter if you come or not in the future. Today's matter can't be left like this. Isn't it just a few more glances at that woman, he really thinks it's a treasure? If it wasn't because of him, who would look at it so badly? Xiao Yuan was also very hesitant at this time. He really wanted to go back and seek justice. After all, if he left like this, he would feel uncomfortable no matter where he met the younger generation of the Zhou family and me. As for the elders of the Zhou family, he doesn't care. There is nothing shameful for the younger generation to make a fool of themselves in front of the elders. What he can't accept is that he made a fool of himself in front of the juniors of the Zhou family. However, I remembered Zhou Mikang's cruel words when he abandoned him. He had some palpitations again. He said, if you dare to go in again, I will break your leg. If someone else said this, he wouldn't take it seriously, but it was Zhou Mikang who said it, and he was a man of his word. If he really broke his leg, he would be the one to suffer. For a while, he vacillated between reputation and personal injury. He is extremely satisfied with his wife's performance, anyway, knowing why he was thrown out. She is indeed a good woman who can defend him like this. In the future, he will treat her better. By the way, let her parents treat her better. In the end, the desire to seek justice and restore his reputation prevailed, and he was dragged in by Zhou Yiping half-heartedly. Exactly. Mr. Zhou just finished speaking. Everyone is holding glasses and drinking. Xiao Yuan's gaze slanted towards Zhou Mikang quietly, touching the other's cold face, he shuddered uncontrollably. Then, he raised his chest again. He couldn't believe it, those people in the Zhou family would just watch Zhou Mikang break his leg. See what's going on in the house. Zhou Yiping's tears flowed down, she didn't take her seriously. How can you do this? Am I the daughter of the Zhou family? She almost yelled out this sentence. Zhou Mikang stared at Xiao Yuan coldly, it seems that you really don't want to walk anymore. Third brother. Xiao Yuan wanted to argue for a few words, but he didn't know what was going on. Pointing at Zhou Yiping, Ping Ping said, it's not good if you don't attend the third brother's engagement banquet. I'll be back. Grandma, you have to decide for me. Zhou Yiping looked at the old lady Zhou firmly. Why did the third brother throw Yuan out? In any case, Yuan is also a person with head and face. If the neighbors outside saw it, where would Yuan's face be placed? Also, what would they think of the Zhou family? Also, I asked Yuan just now, why did the third brother throw him out? It was because the third sister-in-law smiled at Yuan. If he really threw it away, he should throw away the third sister-in-law. Why are you laughing at other people's men for no reason? The faces of Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe changed as soon as they swiped, and their own daughters knew it, just like Xiao Yuan, 10 bundles together, the daughters didn't wait to take a second look. This is simply framing. Although her daughter was reluctant to marry Zhou Mikang, they could tell that she just didn't like the way the other party acted, and she didn't dislike him in other aspects. Otherwise, no matter how domineering the other party was, she probably wouldn't agree. If it weren't for the respect of the Zhou family and the others, and the attitude of Mrs. Zhou had changed a lot, they would definitely not be able to sit still now. Over there, Chu Xia also clenched her fists. It's too shameless. It's really weird to be able to turn right and wrong into black and white. Originally, she thought that Zhou Mikang's actions just now warmed her heart, but it seemed a little too much now. At this moment, she doesn't feel that Zhou Mikang's actions just now were too much. For this kind of person, this is the way to go. Zhou Xiangping caressed Chu Xia's fist and whispered in her ear, don't worry, we are here. The implication is, first listen to what the old lady has to say. If the old lady really loves Zhou Yiping and her husband, she will definitely not stand by and watch. In this kind of thing, others may not believe what the parties say, but what about the words of the bystanders? Unless one is determined to give shit to the person involved, it is impossible to just listen to one side of the story. You don't know what your own man is like. Take him away. Don't embarrass yourself here. Mrs. Zhou's words resounded loudly. Except for Lu Lingmei, everyone else heaved a sigh of relief. Oh, and Uncle Zhou Gangping, he was embarrassed. When his daughter and son-in-law got out, he lost everything and wanted to find a crack in the ground to get in. After all, the old lady was the only one who disagreed with this marriage. Just now, everyone was really worried that she would speak in favor of Zhou Yiping. Mom. Lu Lingmei looked at the old lady Zhou with a trembling voice, you didn't even ask, and just drove them away like this? What a mistake it is for the youngest to throw Yuan out in front of these people. Do you want to treat him like this? She said and looked at Zhou Mikang. Third aunt thinks she treats you kindly, and she used to worry about your marriage, not for the sake of your favor, but because she thought it was not easy for you, so she tried every means to help you. If you don't appreciate it or accept it, the third aunt doesn't blame you. It can only show that those girls have no destiny with you, but the third aunt is really chilled by what you did today. Are you planning to let your daughter-in-law ride on the Zhou family's neck to shit? Are you planning to let the Zhou family see her face in the future? Well, it's not up to the third aunt to take care of your plans, and the third aunt has no right to take care of them, but, you can't stand up for your daughter-in-law by slapping your sister and brother-in-law in the face, can you? What kind of guy is your son-in-law, don't you know? Zhou Mikang stared at Lu Lingmei expressionlessly. Other things, I don't want to say anything, he said and looked at Xiao Qiang. If you don't leave, I will talk about it. Do it? I'm going. Xiao Qiang gritted his teeth and glared at Zhou Mikang bitterly, and ran out quickly. The hero doesn't suffer from immediate losses, and he will pay for this debt one day. Zhou Yiping stamped her feet bitterly and chased after her. I'm leaving too, Lu Lingmei said while dragging her son Zhou Huikang. Let's go. Mom, this has nothing to do with me. Zhou Huikang shook off her hand. It's not like you don't know what kind of temper my sister and my brother-in-law have, so why are you messing around? Today is the day of the third brother's great joy. You, don't be ignorant. If I am the one who is engaged today, and my brother-in-law stares at my daughter-in-law lewdly, will I be comfortable? If I have the skills of the third brother, I will throw him out too. While speaking, he glanced at Zhou Mikang adoringly, then clenched his fist and shook it resentfully. It's a pity that I don't have that much strength, hey. Lu Lingmei looked at Zhou Gangping with a gloomy face. What about you, aren't you leaving? Today is my nephew's engagement, why should I leave? Zhou Gangping's face was also gloomy. How is Xiao Yuan's reputation outside? Don't tell me you don't know. Xiaomi did the right thing. If it wasn't for the sake of the family, Xiao Yuan would definitely be missing some parts right now. Don't be dissatisfied. Humph, Lu Lingmei didn't say hello, but also walked away. Mr. Zhou looked at Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe apologetically. Dear in-law, I'm really sorry. You see, it's a mess. Alas, there are too many children in the family. It's inevitable that there are all kinds of tempers, alas. Uncle Zhou, this time, we are completely relieved, Zhao Yulan said while looking at the old lady Zhou gratefully. Thank you, Aunt Zhou. The old lady waved her hand. I am right about things and not about people. Although the old lady's words meant that she was not accepting Chu Xia, but just upholding justice, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe were no longer worried. As long as the old lady is not so confused that she doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, it's fine if she doesn't accept Chu Xia for the time being. For such an old lady who is clear about right and wrong, as long as Chu Xia behaves well, she will be accepted one day. The engagement banquet continued. Just now, it was only Mr. Zhou who spoke on behalf of the man, and then Lin Baohe spoke on behalf of the woman. Then, in front of everyone, Mr. Zhou handed over the engagement gift money to Lin Baohe. The couple had discussed it a long time ago, and if the amount was too large, they would not accept it. But it's not good to open the red envelope in front of everyone at this moment, and if they refuse it rashly, it will appear that the daughter is too worthless. Before they finished tangling, Lin Yangkai called Chu Xia over again, and put a crystal and lustrous mutton jade bracelet on her wrist. I prepared this for my youngest daughter-in-law a long time ago. Wearing this bracelet of mine will give you a call me mom. Wow. Baby. This kind of mutton fat jade bracelet is priceless at all. This mother-in-law's handwriting is really great. Mao Xia seems to have forgotten what year it is. Zhou Mikang had changed her words a long time ago, so now it was her turn to change her words. She glanced at Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe secretly. Seeing the couple nodding at her, she looked at Lin Yangkai with an embarrassed expression. Thank you, Mom. The eldest aunt stroked her forehead with a headache. The eldest niece, why did you forget to refuse it before accepting it? This makes us greedy for money.